Hi everyone. I get asked all the time, how do you create the perfect blow dry? Clients will often say oh, it's so beautiful, my hair in the salon, but for whatever reason, when I get home, I can't recreate the look. So I decided to do a video today and walk you through sort of a basic blow dry with a bit of volume using a round brush. Um, Really, the most important parts of what makes a good blow dry is really starting with the right foundation, meaning a good shampoo and conditioner, followed by primer, styling product, and then a finishing product. Clients will often ask me as well, do I really need all these products at home? And truthfully, you do. Because if we're using it in the salon, you will never be able to recreate the look at home if you're not using what we're using. There's a reason why the stylist will always run to the dispensary and grab a certain product because they need to use it in order to create the look. So I'm going to walk you through what I would use on just a nice round brush blow dry. The first thing we're going to start with is the DEDE primer mist, which is really a porosity balancer. So it's going to help to make sure that the cuticle layer is all balanced. When you apply the styling product of your choice, it'll help it sort of distribute throughout the hair more evenly. So I'm going to spray this on first, making sure I'm saturating everywhere. Perfect. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is just kind of brush that through a little to make sure it's evenly distributed. I'm using one of the Evo paddle brushes. These are wonderful because they're great for stimulating blood circulation at the scalp as well as detangling the hair. Okay, so the next step, because I'm doing a volume-based blow dry, I'm going to do a root volumizer. So I'm going to spray this right at the root. It's called VOLU hair mist. So it's a nice light volumizer. It's not going to be sticky at all. And I'm really working it into the root area. Some of the product will be distributed through the ends when I brush it through after I apply my next product. Okay, so I've got that worked in through the root. And I'm going to follow right away with this is a volume boosting mousse from Davinus. So these are not like the old school mousses from the 80s where you would put a big mound of mousse. I'm going to use a fairly small amount. And I'm going to work through a little bit in one hand and start distributing it throughout the hair so I get more of an even distribution. I think a lot of people will kind of go in and put it directly in one area and then wonder why it's not getting consistent volume or shape everywhere throughout the hair. Okay, so now that I have that in, I'm going to take the paddle brush again and I'm going to just brush it through. This will help to distribute the product evenly as well. While I'm doing this too, I'm going to decide where I want to part the hair. I think for this blow dry, we'll keep it fairly sort of center, slightly off center. With mannequins, it's kind of hard to determine where there's a natural part since, it's fake hair. Well, I guess it's not fake hair, but it's not a person. Perfect. So now I'm going to work through the blow dry, and I'm going to turn this around a little bit, just so you can sort of see half the front and half the back. This is probably going to get a little loud, so what I'll do is I'll probably fast forward through the blow drying and pause at certain points and sort of explain what I'm doing, just so the video is not really long, but also just so that you get the key points. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by what we call rough drying the hair, and the idea of this is to help to remove the moisture from the hair so that you're not starting from a completely wet palette to get the volume in, which would make you, with the round brush, going for quite a long time. So I'm going to really move the hair around. I'm going to also be lifting the hair so that I get volume at the root. And you'll see I'll start just kind of on low here. And I'm going to be moving the hair Put it around a little bit. This hair is pretty wet right now. Now, some clients will find it easier to just flip their head upside down and start blowing kind of like that. I have no hair right now, but it does kind of the same thing. It's allowing the hair to kind of fall off the top of the head, and it's as if you're pulling it straight up so that you're drawing the root away from the scalp, which will help to give it a bit of lift. And you're going to do this till it's about 80% dry. Now I may start just by lifting the hair a bit with a paddle brush, just to get some root volume. And I'm really just kind of grabbing and lifting. And I'm not really worrying about drying the end because I'm going to be using the round brush. You can already see there's starting to be a little bit of lift and volume through there. And I'll come over to the other side. Oops. And then as well on this side, I'm going to be sort of lifting. And I'll do the same thing in the back. Kind of moving the hair forward over the face. So this is where it is a little handy when you're at home to be doing this upside down. Sort of save your arms a little bit from holding over your head if you're going to be round brushing. And I'm going to be wrapping it this way, at the same time lifting it so I'm getting the volume. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so now that we have the hair about 80% dry, I'm going to grab a sectioning clip and section out the hair. These little clips, you can really find them pretty well anywhere. You can find them at Shoppers Drug Mart or a beauty supply, or some salons will sell them. we may be starting to carry them as well. So essentially what you want to do is divide the front of the head to the back. So sort of right from the top of your head to behind the ear. I think this is another challenge that a lot of people have is, they kind of get lost in it. There's so much hair and they don't exactly know where to start or stop. So I always find it's easier to section off the hair and then you sort of know where you're working. So we're going to go back to that central parting, kind of divide it there. So we're going to have, the left side, the right side, and the back. So we're going to use those 3 sections for a blow dry. And just for the sake of the blow dry, and so it's not too long, I'm going to go ahead and show you just how I would start in the front. So I would take that clip, and I'm going to divide this into, well, right now I'm just going to divide it into 1 section, but we'll basically be doing like 3 or 4 sections per side. I'm just going to clip that out of the way. And I will grab a round brush. So again, I'm using an Evo round brush, which we sell on our website. They're fabulous. This is the Hank 43. It's a really nice size for this kind of length of hair because it will smooth the hair, but at the same time give me a little bit of finish and curl towards the end of the hair. And it makes it a little easier to control when it's not too big. Okay, so starting with the brush, I'm going to take the brush, and before I even start with the blow dryer, I'm going to use the brush just to make sure it's not tangly. And then starting at the root, I'm going to lift the hair and blow dry up. So at this point, I'm not even using the wrap of the round brush. And then I'm going to come through and from the top, work it down. Sorry, this mannequin has not had a haircut, so she's a little tangly. So now that I've dried the hair, I'm going to let it rest in the brush for about 10 seconds just to let the hair cool down a little bit. With these brushes, the Hank brush, they are a ceramic coated metal, so it kind of works like a curling iron as well. So if you let it rest there, it'll give you a bit of curl, and then you pull it out and you can sort of see the lift that you're getting and a bit of that curl at the end. One thing that I don't want to do, particularly if I want volume, is I'm not going to start running my hands or fingers through the hair because it'll start to straighten it. I really want to let this fully cool down before I manipulate it too much. So I'll take my next section down. And just get that out of the way. And without trying to get the previous section wet, I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing. So using my brush just to make sure the tangle is out. Turn on my blow dryer. So really the key is to make sure that you're lifting the hair when you're drying it. If I start going like that, I'm not going to get as much volume or pulling it down. So this is where it can be a little bit challenging, and that's why you don't want the hair super wet, because you don't want to spend a lot of time trying to dry the hair at this point, because your hands do have to be above your head. And then I'm just going to wrap it and let it cool down. So you can see, like this, it doesn't take a lot of time to dry the hair if you've already spent the time pre-drying it and giving it a bit of root lift. You do have to be careful when you do this that you don't tuck the brush in too close to the root, because that's how you can get the brush tangled into the hair. And then I'm going to pull it out. And again, you can see that there's quite a bit of lift there. Now, with this final section on this side, I'm going to divide it in half. And there's going to be a front part of it and a back part. So I'll do the back part first. So again, brushing through. See that? And I'm working this one a little bit more towards the back. I'm really heating up the hair while it's on the brush and then letting it cool down. And you can see, look at that root lift from the VOLU hair mist and the volumizing mousse. I mean, it's quite amazing. And the nice thing about these products is when you run your fingers through it, they don't feel sticky or stiff. That's one of the reasons that we love Davines, is that it really has more of a natural feel on the hair, but still performs incredibly well. So for this final section, I'm going to be working it with the brush a little bit more towards the face. This way I'll get a little bit more lift in the front area. So again, let me detangle that. I'm gonna turn this a little this way so I'm not right in front of the camera. And then I'm gonna hold that. And this, when I let it unwrap it, I'm actually gonna have it fall just a little back so I get some of that root lift to stay in there. So it'll cool a little more that way. So you'll see, the one side is completely done, and then we're gonna move to the other. We'll do the exact same thing. I'll just work through this section a little faster. Now, one thing I like to do at this point, just to get a nice volume and finish through the top, is although that section's dry, I'm just going to rework it a little bit with the brush, just to combine the two to get some root lift in the top. I'm going to roll it forward towards the face, lifting. And then roll it the opposite way. Moving it down. Great. So now we've got that front section done. You can see the way that we've done it, and you can really move it either side. You could keep it in the central parting, but really nice lift in the front. So I'm just going to let that cool down, and then I'm going to work the back area. Now, it's a little bit challenging for you at home doing the back. I mean, you really have to sort of work the dryer this way, working it out one side and then the other side. So it does take a little bit of practice, but the general principles are the same of getting root lift so that you get the volume and letting the hair cool. So again, in this back, we're going to divide it into 3 sections. So I'm going to start with that first section. The only difference is we'll blow dry one side and the other side, okay? So same idea, lifting at the root. Letting it cool down. It's a little more dry. You can see when it gets a little limp like that, it means there's still a little moisture in the hair. Again, dividing it in 2. Lift. So I'm actually dividing, instead of the 3 section, I'm gonna add a 4 section because the hair is a little thicker than I thought. Some people will be able to get away with 3 depending on your density. Some may need to do even more than 4. But again, it's the same principles of just taking a section that you can control with your brush, not too large. The larger the brush, the larger the section that you're trying to work, the less control you're going to have, and the less volume you'll end up getting. Okay. Okay, so this final section through here, we're going to be lifting directly up to make sure we get maximum volume through the crown. You can already see we have quite a bit of volume through there. All right, we'll let that cool down. Perfect. So now our blow dry is complete and we're going to work on finishing the hair. So there are a few different ways you can finish. Some people will love the full volume like this and will just kind of rake through it with their fingers to kind of balance it out. You'll see, once the volume is in there, you can move the hair around and you get lots of beautiful movement. It's not stiff or sticky at all, but you have volume everywhere. I can't really see what this looks like because I don't have a mirror, but hopefully it looks good. One thing that I kind of always like to do, and I tend to do in Salon, is I like to move it around with the blow dryer a little bit. I find I get a little bit more of a natural windblown look, and then I can refine it. So I'll just take the blow dryer and start moving the hair around. This will also balance out the volume a little bit. So areas that you've gotten a lot of volume or other areas where you haven't gotten as much, it helps to balance it. Perfect. And then to finish, you can either use a light hold hairspray, or if your hair is a little on the duller side, you can use something like the Shimmer Mist from Davines. This is what I'm going to use on the mannequin because on mannequin hair, it's really quite dull. There's a few different ways that you can use a shimmering mist. One thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to go in and like heavily spray something that you just put a lot of volume into because it will deflate it. So if you're going to spray directly on the hair, you want to make sure you're coming from arm's length and spraying just little bursts, very soft, and letting it sort of settle onto the hair. Another great way to use it is to put it directly on your hands, rub your hands together, and then work it through that way. And then that way, you have a little bit more control where it goes. All right, let's see what this looks like. Not my best blow dry, but you know, I've been out of practice since I've been at home for a while, but this has felt good getting back in there. Anyways, I hope that everyone has found this helpful, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. One great thing to do as well is if you really are struggling with trying to figure out how to do a really great blow drying yourself, is book a blow dry with your stylist in Salon. But instead of having them do the blow dry, bring your tools and the products that you have at home and let them help you walk you through it. So you'll actually be doing the blow dry, but they'll be guiding you and showing you different ways to do it. That's a really great way to learn how to blow dry your own hair. Okay, thanks again for joining me.